Now from Virginia by Fahad Nazer. He's a former political analyst at Saudi Arabia's embassy here in D.C. Fahad, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
So can you explain to us why these types of stampedes happen so frequently?
Well, I think it's important to keep in mind that when you talk about Hajj, you're talking about hundreds of thousands of people performing religious rites that take several days to conclude. The sites of these rites are several miles apart from each other. And while bus services and cars do exist, most of these rides are done by foot. And unfortunately, that's when most of these accidents happen. It does not take much for a catastrophe to take place. Really, all it takes is a handful of people either tripping or having an accident of some sort, or even just not following directions, and things can unfortunately spiral out of control very quickly when you're talking again about 2 million people at the Hajj this year.
So Saudi government has spent millions of dollars to improve the infrastructure, to make sure pilgrims are safe, and yet these types of episodes are still happening. Do you think anything can be done when you're talking about sheer volume of people we're talking about, in this case, 2 million people for Hajj this year?
Yeah, the Saudi government has actually spent billions, not just millions. They've spent billions expanding the Grand Mosque itself in Mecca. They've spent hundreds of millions expanding in the sites outside of Mecca at Mina and Muzdalifah and other places. But like you said, when you have that many people performing religious rites at the same time, the emotions are running very high. And unfortunately, all it takes is just a handful of people not following directions, and suddenly you have a big catastrophe on your hand. One of the major problems, and I think this is a problem year in, year out, and I'm not sure how the Saudi organizers can overcome that, but it's the fact, pilgrims come from all over the world, so they're speaking literally hundreds of different languages. Certainly not everybody speaks English or Arabic, so communication can become a real problem, and it appears to have been the case here as well.
And Fahad, what do you know about this incident? Do you know how it happened, where exactly it happened?
Yeah, I mean, your reporter there gave a fairly detailed account, and that's my understanding as well, that there was miscommunication. There was two groups of pilgrims going in the same direction. One of them clearly did not follow instructions, and unfortunately, that has been the pattern throughout the years. It's people, or again, it doesn't require thousands of people doing something wrong. Sometimes it's just a handful of people not following directions. And in the past, you've had stampedes in recent years, but you've also had fires in the past. And again, that could have probably been easily prevented if people had followed directions more closely. But, unfortunately, these things happen.
And some of those pilgrims who died were from Iran, and from what we understand, Iranian state television is telling viewers that Saudis are not taking any responsibility, quoting Saudi Arabia as saying pilgrims are responsible for themselves in these types of situations. You just gotta wonder, should Saudi Arabia take some kind of responsibility for the safety of 2 million worshippers?
Yeah, I think there's no doubt that I think the Saudi government takes the custodianship of the two holy mosques very seriously. I think there's every indication that they take the Hajj very seriously. They've spent billions of dollars, like I said, on expanding the mosque itself and building bridges and tunnels to make it as safe and as secure as possible. But I did see some of the statements coming from Iran, and Iranian officials, frankly, I don't find them to be terribly helpful, or especially at a time of mourning. For instance, if you compare it to the statements that came out of the U.S. government that were nothing but condolences and sharing in the sorrow of this moment, but to try to take, score political points during a tragic time like that is just uncalled for and an incredibly poor taste, to be honest.
And in all fairness, I'm not sure if that's what happened. I was just stating something that the state media in Iran had said. Okay, Fahad Nazer, thank you so much for your time, sir.